Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to another edition of the K.o.t.O Let's Have a Conversation. Today's topic, as discussed on Twitter, which we'll link in the thing below, is sexism and the White House. Now, I watch a lot of T.Y.T. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's the Young Turks. It's a YouTube channel, which I'll link down below. They do a lot of politics and news and opinions and such like that. And when I get up in the morning, I usually throw on T.Y.T for news and opinions while getting ready for work. It's not really my only source for news, but it's definitely my first choice for news in the morning. Throw it on in the background, listen to what's going on. If something catches my attention, I'll dig into it a little further and see what's going on. It's a really great way to sort of figure out what's going on, and they're really opinionated and really honest, and I really like that. I like the format. The people on it are great. I'll link it in the thing below. Check it out if you have a second, because seriously, it's really great. Anyway, really great. I love them. So they recently had two separate and unrelated stories about sexism in the White House, and I'll link those down below as well, because they're great pieces of video to watch and sort of get into T.Y.T if you haven't seen it before. Now, the pieces that they had were... Sorry, if I keep looking down, I wrote everything down in this new planner, and I wanted to make sure I covered everything, because there's a lot of stuff. So, the two pieces they had were called... Who will be the First Lady if Hillary Clinton is elected to president? And the other one was, were Obama's comments about Elizabeth Warren sexist? Both of these stories bothered me for different reasons. And we'll get into those in a minute. But firstly, they annoyed me because I couldn't believe these were stories to begin with. With everything that's going on in the world right now, with everything that's happening in Nepal, with the earthquakes and the other millions of things, like, sorry, it's the first one that popped in my head. But you know, you've got world hunger, famine, disease, Ebola just got finished in a faraway place, I want to say Liberia, but I might be wrong. I have to look it up. But look, there's a million things going on in the world right now. We're concerned about this? Really? Now, I don't live in the States, but we get a lot of news media from the States up in Canada here, so we have to deal with a lot of this shit, and I often find myself feeling like, what the fuck are the States doing? Like, it used to be they were the powerhouse and they were the ones in charge, and a lot of times now I just left myself going, what the hell is happening down there? It's insane. But to me, the fact that these were even stories to begin with is just amazing to me, that that's what the States are focusing on. Like, really, honestly, bravo, because way to miss the ball on everything else that everyone else is doing. The self-centeredness of it is amazing to me. Like, I cannot imagine this for you. It's a lot of... Sorry, I had to close the window. They're loud outside. But it's sunny, so I'm keeping the curtain open. I'm really excited about the sun. But it's just, I can't understand the logic behind the States and what they focus on in their media. Because it's just dumbfounding to me. If you want what's going on in the States, you have to go online to get that news. Because most of the news online, in like mainstream media and stuff like Fox, and I hate Fox. I don't even care. I hate Fox. Fox is awful. There's nothing good about Fox. But the other mainstream media is like MSNBC and CNN and all the rest of it. I don't understand why you're reporting on the things that you are. That baffles my mind. So I'm going to start with the Obama story, because that one was just absurd to the... I can't even begin how absurd this is. Okay, so Obama was talking to a reporter about the T.P.P, which is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, honestly, I had to look that up. I really honestly didn't know a whole lot about it. But, you know, I looked it up. So, the interwebs state that the T.P.P is one of the most ambitious free trade agreements ever attempted. The free trade agreement is currently being negotiated between 11 countries. That's all I know about this right now. I'm still digging into this to find out more about it. This is not a video about the T.P.P, so I didn't need that information right now. I just needed a general gist. So, it's a free trade agreement that they're working on. Some are for, some are against. And this was what they were talking about with the reporter when the president made this terribly sexist comment. It's awful, apparently. So, I am going to read you what the president said. And you tell me, because maybe it's just me, I honestly I honestly maybe read this wrong. I'm just gonna pause for 1 sec while I grab the quote because I was totally stupid and didn't bring it over with me. But hold on 1 second. I'm gonna come back and read you this quote. It's amazing. You're gonna be amazed. 1 second. And just like that, we're back with the quote. Alright, so here's the incredibly sexist thing that President Obama said about Elizabeth Warren while he was talking about the T.P.P. So he said, you know, the truth of the matter is, Elizabeth is a politician like everybody else. And, you know, she's got a voice that she wants to get out there. And I understand that. And on most issues, she and I deeply agree. On this one, though, her arguments don't stand the test of fact and scrutiny. So that's the terrible thing that President Obama said about Elizabeth Warren. Now, it wasn't what he said about her arguments that caused the stir. It wasn't the amount of uhs and ums and in there, which honestly that bothered me more than anything else. It was awful. It was just awful, seriously. You're the President of the United States. Do you know how unconfident you sound when you come out going, Speak like a president. You're the President of the United States. Practice your answers and don't get caught off guard where you're left sitting in front of a camera going, It's not your first day. Come on, man. But the part that made the sexist part, apparently, maybe it's just me. Again, this is the part that they got offended by. So the terrible sexist thing he said was to refer to Senator Warren by her first name. He called her Elizabeth. So, where the sexist part comes in, according to Senator Brown and MSNBC and US Today, is the use of her first name. He called her Elizabeth. He works with her. If I work with a chick named Daisy May, and I'm telling you about Daisy May and I talking about the photocopier, I'm not going to refer to her as Ms. May. It's going to be Daisy said. Daisy and I were discussing. I really, honestly, highly doubt. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am completely wrong on this. I highly doubt that Elizabeth Warren was sitting at home, drinking her morning coffee, watching this report, spit coffee at the damn screen and went, did he seriously just call me Elizabeth? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Who the hell does he think? That never happened at Elizabeth Warren's house that day. She probably didn't give a shit that he called her Elizabeth either. If they worked together, she used to work with him directly, and she still works with him on a day-to-day basis. She's in the government. Like, it's the government. They work together. She's a senator. Okay? So, if he called her that, I honestly don't think she was that offended by it. Using someone's name isn't sexist. It's their name. It's their label. It's what you call them. That's their name. Okay? Seriously, this shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Honest to God, it doesn't. It really does not matter. What should matter is the T.P.P. Why don't we have more useful information on the T.P.P? Rather than sitting around going, did he call her Elizabeth? Oh my God. Like, honestly, who cares whether he called her Elizabeth or Senator Warren? It doesn't matter. That's not the fucking point. The question that should have followed that comment wasn't, did he call her Elizabeth? The question that should have followed that wasn't, was that sexist? Patriarchy, misogyny, stop the presses. That was discrimination against her as a woman because he used her first name. That's ridiculous, people. That's not the question that should have followed that comment. The question that should have followed should have been, What is it about her argument that you don't feel stands the test of fact and scrutiny, and what are you basing that assumption on? That would have been a useful use of your media time. You are a goddamn reporter. Ask the question. Tell me about the T.P.P. Tell me about why he thinks that. Why does he think that she's wrong? What is it about her argument that's not factual and doesn't stand up to scrutiny? What part of it doesn't he agree with her on? It's a big deal. Like, this is a big, most ambitious free trade agreement going on. This is 11 countries. We need more details about what it is that they disagree on in this. And if he's just dismissing her entirely, going, I don't agree with her. Well, then that's different than if they disagree on certain points of the friggin' agreement. Either way, we don't know any of that, because all we know is that he called her Elizabeth. What a prick. So the other story that irked me was from the Daily Mail, who was pondering who would be First Lady if Hillary Clinton is elected president. Well, it's the spouse of the president. So, why is that a question? The president is Hillary Clinton, and her spouse would be Bill Clinton. So, am I missing something here? Like, I don't understand. That would be Bill. So then I heard they were thinking about her daughter instead, Hillary, or Chelsea for Hillary's first lady. And so I started to think and look into what it is about that role that has to be filled by a female. What is it specifically about the role of First Lady that requires a lady? Why can't it be First Gentleman? If we set precedent and set, well, I live in Canada, but if the United States sets precedent, has a female president, then it stands to reason that we would have the first female president, they would have the first gentleman, the very first gentleman. I don't understand what it is about this role that requires a female body to be in it. So I started looking into it and finding out what it was about the role that required a female. And according to Wiki, which is Wikipedia, I will put the link below. First Lady is the hostess of the White House, advisor to the president, and social activist on occasion. Now, I remember Bill being a very social person. He plays the saxophone, he's a chill dude, he smoked pot, he was friendly with interns, a very social person. And in all honesty, nobody faults him for that. So if the role is host of the White House, well then he's fine. He's very social, he'll do just fine. He can host events there, he's been there before. He's been to events there before. I'm sure he can handle it. If the role is advisor to the president, well, who better to advise the president than a president? He's done the role. He knows how the game works. He knows how the place works. He knows how to get shit done. Why wouldn't he advise her? That's crazy talk. And are you saying that social activists can only be women? That seems a little weird. I know a lot of social activists that are men. So are we saying Bill can't be social activist? Because that seems funny. I think Bill would do fine in social activism. I don't know what he's been doing since he left office. I didn't look into that. But I'm sure he's been doing something. Other than just showing up at Obama's events every once in a while, which is funny to watch. But, I think he could handle that, to be honest. I remember him being very social. I think he could host a party at the party. No problem. So I started questioning then, who plays First Lady if the president isn't married? And it turns out that's only happened twice. There was the 15th president, James Buchanan, and the 22nd and 24th president, Grover Cleveland. And he served 2 terms as president, but not consecutively. So, also there was 2 people who were widowed. There was Chester Arthur and one other. I will get to him in a minute. But Chester Arthur was the state's 21st president who entered the White House a widow because his wife passed away before his inauguration. So somebody stepped in for him. We'll go over the list of that in a second there, because I actually looked into that. It was actually pretty interesting. So it turns out in these cases or in cases where the president's wife is unable to act as first lady to the president, flip the page. Usually a female relative or friend is asked to step in as White House hostess. So then I wondered how many times the first lady of the president had not been the president's wife. And it turned out there was a number of times the first lady hasn't been president's wife. And there's a lot of precedent for it being other people. So first one I could find there was from 1829 to December 1836. It was Emily Donaldson was First Lady to her uncle Andrew Jackson, and from November 1834 to March 1837, it was shared with his daughter-in-law, Sarah York Jackson. That was the first time I could find that the First Lady had not been the president's wife. Following that, there was 1839 to 1841. First Lady was for President Martin Van Buren, was his daughter Angelina Van Buren, as he was widowed 17 years before that, never remarried. So he was the other one that was a widow when he entered office, and she actually holds the distinction as being the youngest female to ever hold that role. She was 20 years old when she went into that role, so she is by far the youngest one that went in. 1842, Priscilla Taylor for her father John Taylor. 1857, Harriet Lane for her uncle James Buchanan. 1881, Martha McElroy for her brother Chester Arthur, which we discussed earlier. 1885, Rose Cleveland for her brother Grover. 1892, Martha McKee for her father Benjamin Harrison. And 1814, Martha Woodrow Wilson for her father Thomas Woodrow Wilson. That was the last one. So there is precedent for the president's first lady to be someone other than the president's spouse. There's plenty of precedent for it. I think it's just a foolish story, and it's a waste of news space, to be completely honest. Both of these stories are complete fluff pieces. They completely miss the point of what's actually going on. There's much bigger things to be talking about with Hillary and the possibility of her being president than who's going to pick out the White House China. There are much bigger issues in regards to the T.P.P. than whether Obama called Senator Warren Elizabeth. It's ridiculous. There are a million more things to be talking about, and there are a million reasons why the country needs to be more informed. And in all honesty, it saddens me when I look at some of the videos and stuff like that I see, and I look at the ignorance in the country. And it's not just in the States, it's everywhere. Everywhere is getting dumber. I wake up every day and feel like I've woke up in 1984 in the middle of idiocracy. It's retarded sometimes. And I think if all we're doing is these two nonsense stories, there are too many other things that we should be doing, in all honesty. So let Obama call Elizabeth Warren whatever he usually calls her, and let Bill be first gentleman. So let's set a new precedent. Let's stop reporting on this stupid shit. Let's stop covering this stupid shit. Instead of sitting around going, did he call her Elizabeth? I think she should be offended by that. I don't think she gives a shit. Let's focus on the T.P.P. and why she disagrees with the president. Let's look at why they don't agree. What is she standing up to him against? She seems pretty logical on most things, and she's done incredible work. Maybe we should hear her out. Rather than dismissing it as, oh, well, it doesn't really matter what she doesn't agree with the president as. He called her Elizabeth. What an asshole. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just ranting for the sake of ranting. What do you think? What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments, because I really kind of want to know. I've given sort of my blah on the whole subject, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is something more to this, that it's a sexist thing. I honestly just think these are two stupid stories that don't matter. Who cares who picks out to China? Who cares what he called Elizabeth? Focus on the issues. You guys have a huge election coming up, and you have a lot of things to consider. Who's going to play First Lady is not one of them. The T.P.P. is a huge deal. That's a free trade agreement between 11 countries at the moment. That is huge. That's going to impact a lot of people. Why not focus on that rather than whether he called her Elizabeth and whether that's sexist? And who cares? It's not the fucking issue. That's my rant. So what do you say? What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm completely off my rocker? Put it in the comments. I want to know what you think. And we will talk to you soon. Let's just talk.